Despite Charles Manson's place in 20th century infamy, his death last month created a mere media ripple that got lost in the tsunami of coverage of unsavory UAL allegations against powerful men. There was, however, one striking commonality in the reporting on both the seemingly irrelevant mass killer and the suddenly ubiquitous abuses the use of the word monster. It's hard to argue the point in Manson's case. He was consistent in his monstrosity from the moment he took his clan into the California desert to the day he died. Anyone who listened to Jailhouse Charlie for more than a sentence felt the evil. So if we were intent on applying a dehumanizing label to anyone, Manson would be our guy. Which is why we ought to recoil at that same epithet being used indiscriminately to describe the likes of Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, Louis C.K., Al Franken and others outed in the wake of the disturbing allegations against Harvey Weinstein. Weinstein himself, under investigation in Manhattan for rape, has been crucified in the court of public opinion before getting one day in actual court. The monstering has taken place during everything from on-the-record tirades by high-profile women to analytical articles to cartoon panels. After actress Rose McGowan called Weinstein a monster, author Jessica Valenti upped it to legitimate monster. Uma Thurman displayed schadenfreude over Weinstein's extended shaming because he doesn't deserve a bullet. Perez Hilton monster director James Toback, while an entire Twitter page is devoted to monstering producer Brett Ratner. Charlie Rose got monstered in boldface headlines. Here is Jill Filipovich on Lauer's nice guy persona. Most men who do terrible things don't present themselves as monsters. Another writer on CK. Somehow we never came away from Louis thinking, ugh, masculinity is so toxic and Louis C.K. is a monster. We seem inclined to portray today's offending men as UAL stick figures, characterless except for their prurience, utterly lacking in redeeming social value. A message amplified in Time's cover piece on the magazine's Person of the Year, The Silence Breakers. They must not only be rendered unemployable, but their legitimate legacies must be erased. CK's forthcoming film will no longer forthcome. HBO not only cancelled his upcoming show but scrubbed his archives from its on-demand menu. New York Daily News Garrison Keillor had already handed a successor the reins of his iconic syndicated show, Prairie Home Companion, but Minnesota Public Radio plans to rename the show to remove any identification with its originator, and will no longer broadcast Best OFS featuring Keillor. Russell Simmons has been edited out of his own HBO show. In a controversial piece for the New York Times, Bari Weiss argued that the work of these disgraced figures deserves to be judged on its own merits. She noted that a Picasso is still a Picasso, even if the artist was a world-class misogynist. And yet Weiss shied away from the larger point that Picasso the man remains the artist capable of creating Picassos. So too, the current crop of offenders greenlighted wonderful wrote depending on your tastes. Charming radio scripts took on dicey journalistic assignments and/or brought us the news each day in an engaging manner, comforting America when the nation most needed comforting. They should not now be dismissed as one-dimensional grotesque wearies who did nothing but traumatize women. I will not propose that these men deserve our forgiveness, for nowadays, forgiveness stops when it encounters feminism. But Franken was a devoted legislator, and the same Louis C.K., who masturbated in front of young women, used his comic genius to make millions of us laugh off our own troubles. Even if some of these abusers were eventually to be jailed, that would not negate their contributions to society, no more than, say, the Charles Dutton's time behind bars for murder negated his thespian oeuvre post-release. Phil Spector's biography still places him at the center of the Beatles' success. USC continues to prominently celebrate O.J. Simpson for breaking all those tackles and rushing records while wearing the school's colors. Al Bell Getty Images to erase Simpson's exploits at USC would be in effect to expunge USC's 1967 national championship and O.J.'s pivotal role in what some regard as the greatest bowl game ever played. How, then, to justify removing the Harvey Weinstein's producer credit from a litany of films and TV series? This is not a case of even Hitler loved his dogs, for the current crop of abusers aren't Hitlers, either. They are object lessons in the fundamental enigma that is human nature. Leaving aside the occasional Manson, we are all complex, incongruous composites of good and bad who should not be defined, assigned value, by our worst characteristics. One wonders how many of today's holier-than-thous would volunteer to be judged in the public sphere by their darkest moments or any monsters in their own closets. Salerno is a freelance writer and author of Sham: How the Self-Help Movement Made America Helpless.